Making Chicken Salad this week is brought to you by 3 Count Pro Wrestling Academy. Are you in Brisbane and thought about learning to be a wrestler? Well, here's your chance. 3 Count Pro Wrestling Academy are based out of Beenleigh in Queensland, and they're committed to teaching the best, safest way to learn the art of professional wrestling. Hit up their Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or email admin at 3countfitness.com now to register your interest, and we thank them so much for supporting the show.
Here I was, blaming AEW for feeding you chicken shit, knowing you mindless millennials would be eating it up as if it were chicken salad, when it's really been your fault all along.
Make chicken salad out of chicken shit. People is as people does, that's all there is to it. Put a square peg in a round hole, just never seems to fit. And you can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit.
Hello and welcome to Making Chicken Salad, the Wrestle Radio Australia podcast where we talk about everything going on around the world of wrestling. I'm the guy who's about to be renamed Gunther McGillibuddy or whatever, Lachlan Albert, and I'm joined by the guy who's actually been a free agent this whole time, Todd Eastman. Todd, how you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. How can you be a free agent when you own the damn company?
All right. We will get, man, there is a lot of stuff to talk about. We haven't recorded one of these, you and I, in a little while, and it is just all news this episode. We'll start with something from around Australian wrestling before we get into the international stuff, and that is the retirement of the prize bull, Sam Osborne. Sam has been an awesome worker for a few years now, really showing off what he can do in PWA is where I've known him. The first time I saw him was in the Coliseum tournament in 2019, where he got to team with all the dads of Australian wrestling and fit right in amongst them. So, yeah, I just want to give a big props to Sam Osborne for a great career and, you know, choosing to hang the boots up while on top. Really, I think, you know, don't have enough nice things to say. Any comments from you on that?
No, not really. Like, a good kid. I've always had good talks with him when I've talked to him. I've had him on WRA once, and I've worked with him once up here in Queensland for Venom Pro, which was fun because he'd never been a face before, and like he had to be a face against us. So like, what do I do? Is it just smile? You'll be fine. Just smile, kid. But no, he's so much. He has so much talent. He had so much talent. He was one of those guys that was a heel who wasn't afraid to get heat and like enjoyed getting heat, which is hard to find nowadays, to be honest. But yeah, like you said, anytime that you get to go out the way you want to is a good thing. So when it's not a doctor telling you that you have to pull stumps, that sort of thing, it's always a good thing when you can go out the way you want to go out. And he's young enough that if he ever wants to change his mind and come back, then he can do that. It is wrestling, and you know what? Retirements don't really stick that much in wrestling, so who knows?
No. So maybe one day we will see Sam Osborne back in the ring, but until then, farewell to the prize bull.
Exactly. Thank you very much for what you've done, mate.
Thanks very much. Moving on to over in the US, let's talk about WWE, and probably the biggest news story we've had in a while is Gunther. So WWE, let's rewind to what we know. On NXT TV, Walter announced that he was not Walter anymore. His name is Gunther. Then we get this information that a trademark has been filed by WWE for the name Gunther Stark. Now, a little bit of Googling tells you that this is the name of a Nazi U-boat commander from World War II. Since then, WWE has abandoned the trademark filing for the name. PW Insider first reported the news Thursday. Got PWA on the brain, that's the problem. PW Insider first reported the news Thursday, saying they abandoned their registration on Wednesday. They had planned to use that surname Stark. It looks like they're dropping the Stark, just going with Gunther. But they never released any statement about the name, despite the controversy. What do you think of this situation, Todd?
Well, first of all, I didn't realize that so many wrestling fans were World War II historians, which is amazing to see. I didn't realize that there was such a convergence between pro wrestling and World War II history. Aside from that, look, they they trademarked the name Gunther Stark. But really, when have you ever seen in WWE someone change someone from one name to two? I mean, Hideo Itami is probably about the only one I can remember off the top of my head. So, I mean,
normally they're getting them dropped.
Yeah, and like they got amazing heat for this, like saying, "Oh, can't believe they would do this. It's so very tone deaf." Blah 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 blah. I don't know if people realize this, but most of the time these guys get to pick their names. They get to pick what name they want to choose. I know Hideo Itami did, because it was two names that were people that influenced his career a lot. It was like Itami was after some video game designer. I can't remember off the top of my head, and Hideo was after something else. I know for a fact Buddy Murphy got to change his name and got to pick his name. I also know for a fact that Matty Wahlberg got to pick his name as well. So, like, for all we know, Walter's gone, this is the name I want. And they've gone, cool, we'll trademark it. They haven't really done any, like, check, is it trademarked? No, it's not trademarked. We'll trademark it. And then somebody's just obviously Googled it and seen what it is. And yeah, it's caused a shitload of...
Todd, here's my issue with it.
Yeah.
Is that WWE should have learned their lesson that they have to Google a name before trademarking it. They should have learned this when they had the submission sorority debut on Raw, and then they on SmackDown maybe, and then they Googled it and found out that it was a porn site, right? That should have been the time where they went, hang on, before we give anyone a ring name, let's Google it and look at the first 10 results.
To be fair, those people probably don't work there anymore.
Well, that's true. We got a whole new crop of people.
A whole new crop of people that make the same mistakes.
It should be, they should be able to Google a name before they give it to someone, because look, I don't think the intention was for him to be named after a Nazi. That may be me giving too much credit to WWE, but I don't think that's the case. I just think they needed to think it through for a second, because still, you Google it, first result, history of a U-boat captain. It's not a good look to give your Austrian performer the name of a Nazi.
No,
it's
but
not
I mean,
cool.
If he's the one that's picked it, maybe they should be asking him questions. Do you know what I mean? Like, dude, why did you pick this name?
I think that, and look, I wonder if part of, we know that Walter historically has pushed back against comparisons to Nazis in terms of naming. His stable pre-coming to WWE was called Ring Kampf. Kampf translating to struggle, him, definitely distancing that from connotations to Hitler. But yeah, it's the fact that that's recurrent is definitely interesting and something to think about. So if that's a name that he's chosen, a great question. But really, that was
the thing that got me. Like, well, it didn't get me, but I was just like, because everyone went, can't believe the WWE would do this. WWE is so bad. Oh, I can't. They just morally bankrupt. Blah 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 blah. No heat at all for Walter, who probably chose the name. Do you know what I mean? I've never seen one. I can't believe Walter would have picked that name, or Walter would have agreed to that name.
Yeah.
I have not seen one of those posts whatsoever, which makes me think, well, you're just trying to attack the big golden goose. Do you know what I mean? Are you trying to, instead of going for the guy that probably picked the name, because like through history, these guys, like I said, get to pick their own names. I know because I know Brooksy told me the story about how Buddy was threatening to call himself Adam Brooks just to annoy Brooksy. So it was like, because he's like, oh, those two names are approved. Bang. I might use it. Don't you dare use that. So, I mean, it's a thing that's happened in the past. And like I said, I know for a fact, Matty Wahlberg chose Grayson Waller. So, I mean, I think a lot of people are headhunting WWE where they really should be asking Walter, did you pick this name? And if you did, why did you pick this name?
I agree, but at the same time, I think it is totally fair to criticize WWE not kind of doing the research and making a decision on the look that would come with
Oh,
this.
I agree, but I think both things should have, like, it's not like an either and or. I think both should be happening.
Yeah.
Like, why did
I
you
agree.
why did you agree to this? If you picked this, why did you pick this? Not just all on them. I understand completely with you. Like, it's a stupid, but not for the fact, why even change it? That I don't understand. You've done the last
I don't get
X
it
amount of years building him up, longest running NXT UK champion, like 2 pretty much matches of the year against Ilya Dragunov. Why would you change it? I don't understand. It's obviously something to do with licensing and copyright and T-shirts and all of that shit. I don't know. I don't really care, to be honest with you. I don't care what the guy's name is. I care what the guy does when he gets in the ring.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right. Like, under the name Walter, he has the longest title reign in modern WWE history. It's 870 days he held that title. It feels like he should just be Walter. There's no reason to change it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's the other aspect of this story. That
one thing too, at least they recognized this and changed it before it happened. That just dropped the Stark.
That's Stark. The name Stark, in fairness, never appeared on WWE TV.
Yeah.
We can't argue about that fact. They were able to get out ahead of that. So
yeah, he never said, my name is Gunther Stark. He said, my name is Gunther.
Yep.
So.
Yep, that's exactly right. Moving on, let's talk about, someone who's potentially going to the main roster, as that might be his name, is someone who doesn't want to be on the main roster. That's Mustafa Ali, publicly announcing that he has requested his release, getting on Twitter, saying that, he has his message and he doesn't think he can do it within WWE. Fightful Select has reported that they have refused to grant his request for release with a contract that has, quote, years left on it. The report states that Ali and WWE have been in contact since he made the request on Sunday, and that the company has told Ali that they will not grant the release now and have no plans to in the future. This is an interesting one for me. I am a big fan of Ali. I think he does phenomenal work. He's also definitely got that support on social media that when he goes and announces something like he's requesting his release, he gets a lot of support. The same way that when he decided he was going to try to get into the new Blade movie, he got a lot of support. The same way that when they announced he wasn't going to be Mustafa anymore, there was a lot of online support there that got that first name back. It feels like this is going to be bad press for WWE when he's announced on, publicly that he doesn't want to be there, and they're saying, no, you've got to work your contract. That's going to get some heat from a lot of fans, but I think those fans might already be on the other side of the divide, quote unquote, and not really watching the product anyway. What do you reckon, Todd?
I completely agree with you. It's bad form for them. If someone doesn't want to be there, let them go. It's as simple as that. Especially someone that you aren't actively using. Like, he's not actively in his storylines. He's not actively. I don't even think he's even actively on main event. So it's like, if you do a quick, what's a cage match search? Find out what the last
cage matching it now.
Yeah, find out what the last time he had a match is, because that would be interesting.
Last match he had was on SmackDown on the 29th of October.
There you go. So
where
that's
he
what?
Lost to Drew McIntyre.
November, December, yeah, 5 months, isn't it? 4 months.
Yep. A week before that, he lost to Mansoor. The day before that, he lost to Mansoor on Crown Jewel. 10 days before that, he lost to the Hurt Business on Raw. A week before that, he lost in a tag match with Mansoor on Raw. I'll find the last time that he won a match. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, don't do that. We'll be here all day. But no, they should, by all rights, if he doesn't want to be there, release him. Release him. Or just do what AEW do and let him stay home and pay him to work out the rest of his contract. But let him go and do independent dates.
Here's the other thing that I think about Ali is that when you've got someone there who, and you know, again, I'm a fan, so take what I'm saying with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But he has been able to make a whole lot of things work. And a lot of that has come from his presence on social media. The work that he did with Retribution were dead on arrival.
Yeah.
That was the way that was presented was never going to work. And the work that Ali did to make it something was incredible. If you've got someone like that and they don't want to be wrestling for you, there are lots of other roles that person can fill in the company.
Yeah.
You know, there is a way to use the fact that you have Ali at your disposal and try to get him in a place where he is more comfortable with the work that he's doing. Because when it comes down to it, if he doesn't want to be there, then he's not going to be putting on things that the fans want to see. If he's not all in it.
I'm sorry, he still would. Like, if you put him in any match, he'll still give his best because that's who he is as a person. As a person, he is a good person. He is a very, like, forthright and honest person. And if they put him in anything, he'll just do it because that's what he's being paid for, and that's why he feels he has a
moral
duty.
Obligation.
Yeah, there we go. Moral obligation to do. Yeah, Retribution were dead on arrival because it was just bad booking. It was bad design. It was bad. If they'd have had all those guys coming in their masks, but then take their masks off, and you saw who they were, except for that. What's the other guy's name? That Mace, the black guy with the, because nobody really knew who he was, aside from, like, he did commentary on Raw for a couple of weeks and then like 86'd him.
Yeah, but he was big.
Yeah, he was big. But if they'd have had, like, Dijakovic take the mask off, Shane Thorne take the mask off, Mia Yim take the mask off, and see who they are, and actually have legitimate stories like we feel like we have been held back, that would have been a good story. Like, their Retribution is because we've been held back in NXT for God knows how long, and we should be on the main roster. Just like Ali's, like, I've been on the main roster and still held back. So these people and me, we have something in common. It was a ready-made story, and they somehow still fucked it up.
Yep.
To this day, like, they're still wearing
they
shit.
fucked it up while Ali's stuff on social media was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Every time he made a tweet, it made me want to see the match, and then I'd go try and watch what they were doing on TV, and it was nothing.
But yeah, WWE should release him, because the way it sounds, I don't even think he wants to go and wrestle for AEW. He just wants to be free. He wants to do something else. Yeah, he wants to do something else. So just let him do it. Release him, but releasing with the caveat, look, we'll release you, but you have a non-compete for, like, the longer than what we normally, instead of the 90 days, it's like a year or some shit like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? If you say that generally you don't want to wrestle, then okay, then for next year. Yeah,
how about non-compete for the remainder of the length of the contract that we're given up?
Yeah.
Like,
because you're not using him. If you're using him, fair enough. But if you're not using him, and you're just, why still have him? Why still, especially when you're quite happy to release guys that you are using.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, poor form on WWE's part. Somebody, like, stamp that, because they'll obviously never say I never say that. So there we go.
There you go. Speaking of people within WWE who feel strong moral obligations, let's talk about Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn has done the opposite of Ali and re-signed with WWE. Now, there's been some people talking online saying that they feel like this is, bad form, that it's a company that is working in Saudi Arabia while he is doing all of this activist work, and that he's betraying those moral obligations. On the other hand, there's the argument that the money that he's making and the name that he's making for himself is what's able to support things like the Sami for Syria project. What's your take on Sami's re-signing with WWE?
It's like, if he's enjoying where he is and enjoying what he's doing and enjoying the money and all of that good stuff, let them re-sign. Like, I know it's the cool thing right now that if you're out of contract, you should just leave and go to AEW. But if he's happy there, if he's happy working with Kevin Owens, like, he's like legitimate off-screen best mate.
Yep.
And they're happy and he's happy doing what he's doing on SmackDown, or like if they need anything done, he's the guy that they usually get to do because they know he can talk his way into a fight. Like
he's the one who's been working with Johnny Knoxville to promote the Royal Rumble. Before that, he was the one working with Brock Lesnar to build up that title match. He does the work. He gets eyes on it.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, and like you said, if he gets if he decided to not re-sign, then he's lost that promotional arm that he could do to do his charities, to do all the like Sammy Faceria and all the other stuff that he does, which is really good work. So
exactly,
I don't see the problem here. Let the guy re-sign, let the guy like put some more money away in his nest egg so he can retire when he wants to retire and still help people.
Exactly. And I think that with someone like Sami Zayn, there's always going to be, there's never going to be the chance that he stops being a good wrestler, right? If you look at that, I always go back to him and Nakamura at TakeOver, right? The guy can wrestle the roof off a place. And I hope that we do get to see that again soon.
And not to mention, like, anytime you need a good match, just go, all right, we'll turn Owens and Thing on each other again. And there'll be a good match.
Fight forever.
Yeah, exactly.
Now let's talk about a couple of other companies dealing with WWE and vice versa. First off, we've got a news story where WWE made some comments about AEW. This happened in the Toronto Star. There was an article about the two companies' rivalry. WWE representative talked about a recent street fight that AEW had, saying that they don't feel the type of, quote, dangerous and brutal display is appealing to network sponsors, fans, and more. Quote, if you look at the gory self-mutilation that bloodied several women in the December 31 event on TNT, it quickly becomes clear that these are very different businesses. We had an edgier product in the Attitude Era, and in a 2022 world, we don't believe that type of dangerous and brutal display is appealing to network partners, sponsors, venues, children, or the general public as a whole. Now, this was on a lot of people's lips because it is really taking aim really clearly to say we don't feel it's appealing to the general public is a big statement about what people like in terms of wrestling. It's also kind of big news because WWE often doesn't mention AEW. AEW is content to mention WWE in every second promo. We heard it this past week where Gunther McGillibuddy or whatever his name is was brought up. In this one, we've got a WWE person directly saying, we don't feel what AEW does is appealing. What do you make of this one, Todd?
Honestly, I know people lost their collective minds over it, but I don't see a problem in what they said because they used the words in a 2022 world. If they hadn't, those like three words weren't in it, and they just said that kind of thing is not appealing and blah 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 blah. But they said, look, we used to do it in the Attitude Era, but that was what 20 years ago, 20 something years ago, and they said in this current climate in 2022, blood, gore, that sort of stuff is probably not appealing to their sponsors, to children, well, definitely not to children. In a 2022 world, which I think for the sponsors that they go after for the stuff that they do, that is a fair enough comment. And I don't see the problem in them saying that. Like they can do, like we are different products. This is what they do. This is what we do. We don't do that stuff anymore. We did it, yeah, sure. But we did that 22 years ago when it was okay to do. And I got into a little bit of a Twitter thing over this because I sort of defended the comment because I was like, I think that's a fair enough comment for them to say. They're like, oh, but they did this with Brock Lesnar and Randy Orton a few years ago where he busted him open hard way. And I'm like, well, they didn't do it every week, did they? They didn't do that all the time. And then somebody else was like, well, it's on the USA Network and the USA has Chucky and blah, blah on it. And I was like, well, it's a fair expectation. If you are watching Chucky, you are going to see this. It's not a fair expectation that if you're watching wrestling, you're going to see blood every week. And I know I say the words every week, and it's not technically every week, but it's close enough to you see someone busted open a fair amount on their television.
Chucky is not in ads for Snickers and Cricket Mobile.
No,
Like,
that is
to
very
me,
true.
that's what it comes down to, right? One of the
Yes.
big things they've talked about here is they're talking about network partners, sponsors, venues. These are big corporate entities who have expectations on what they want. That's the product WWE is producing. They are producing, really, at the end of the day, a sanitized wrestling product.
Yes.
They are producing wrestling, cut up and packaged for the mass market. AEW is trying to do something different. They're trying to make something that is grittier and edgier and more appealing to the people who are really focused on enjoying wrestling. WWE really is trying to make a product that people watch for 5 hours a week and then don't think about for the rest of their week.
Yeah.
So when they make all of that money on a Snickers sponsorship and they have Charlotte and Ric Flair doing an ad for Snickers, they don't want that to be surrounded by people bleeding all over the mat. I get that and I agree.
Yeah, it's a very different, like, I think it's very clear when you watch their show, when you listen to Dave Meltzer, when you listen to even when you listen to Tony Khan talk, they are after the demo. And that is pretty much it. Whereas WWE are after everybody. They don't see, like they've always said, like, wrestling isn't our competition. Our competition is NFL, NBA. Like, every bit of entertainment is our competition. And every bit of entertainment don't just go after the 18 to 49 demo. They go after everybody. And that's what they do. And it's, I can't say it's a bad strategy for them because they're making money hand over fist.
Yep.
So I think it's fair enough. I know they think, oh, well, they took a shot at them. No, they just said, they stated a fact. Like, on December the 31st, there was a match with 4 girls where they bled like stuck pigs. That's a fact. And it happened.
It wasn't even that they said, we don't feel it's appealing to these people. They also said, it quickly becomes clear that these are very different businesses.
Mm-hmm.
That's the point of the statement. They're saying what AEW is doing is not what we're doing. We feel that what they're doing does not work for us.
Yeah, exactly. It does not work for bringing in, like, household name sponsorships, like your Snickers, your bloody, your Dodge, your Progressive, you know, all of those things that they advertise and shit. I understand, like, because I can look at it from that point of view, like, that's a sponsorship they're after. So that's who they're trying to please. Yeah. Like, yeah, I didn't see a big deal of it. I didn't even see a big deal of it that they commented on it, because it was a direct question asked from a journalist who was doing a piece about Tony Khan and AEW starting to get some momentum to rival WWE. And for them to go, well, we don't really see it that way because we don't see them as our competition.
Yep.
We're two very different businesses, which is something that they've said from day dot.
Yep, exactly right. Fully agree there. All right. But turning the table the other way around, MLW are suing WWE. MLW announced the lawsuit via a press release accusing WWE of pressuring third parties to abandon contracts and prospective relationships with them, citing as an example a potential streaming deal that, quote, would have been transformative for the company. In the lawsuit, MLW specifically mentions that a deal with the streaming service Tubi TV, which is owned by Fox, fell apart when WWE stepped in. Additionally, the company alleges that in early 2021, when MLW was in talks with Vice TV to air programming, and then WWE executive warned Vice TV that Vince McMahon was, quote, pissed about Vice airing MLW programming, and that Vice TV should stop working with MLW. Vice TV executive responded by saying that what they were doing was illegal and an antitrust violation. The executive replied that she could not control McMahon. Quote, WWE has been wrongfully depriving its competitors of critical opportunities for many years, but its latest conduct has been even more unconscionable. That's from MLW CEO Court Bauer, as he said in a press release. I think we speak for the rest of the professional wrestling world when we say that this anti-competitive behavior has to stop. WWE, in a statement to WrestleNomics, said MLW's claims have no merit. Quote, WWE believes these claims have no merit and intends to vigorously defend itself against them. Give us the take, Todd.
Good luck, MLW. They would have probably had a real strong case if there wasn't such a thing as AEW.
Yep. If this case had been put forward 4 years ago, it'd be a very different story. But the fact that there is another wrestling promotion who is on network television, who is doing, well in the ratings demos that they're targeting, who is consistently, putting on big events, it hurts the credibility of saying that there's anti-competitiveness there.
And also, like, I can't see a deal with Tubi TV being all that transformative. Like, really?
Yeah.
Like,
the fact, look,
I've seen Tubi TV
on
I think it's on my Apple TV or even on my smart TV. I've never pressed it. I've never looked at it. I never really intend to.
You can watch MLW on YouTube at this point, right?
Yeah.
So is there a big difference to if it makes its way to a streaming platform?
I don't know. Like, I understand what they're saying with the whole, like, partners saying, like, but I think the one story that they said in this, it's not mentioned in here, but it was mentioned somewhere else, that WWE threatened to pull their programming if they did it. Yeah, I really think that Vince McMahon would go, right, we'll take SmackDown off Fox if you don't do this. Like, there is no way on God's green that they would do that. Like, even if they threatened it, it's the world's worst bluff. And I think the Fox executives would be busting a gut laughing at the notion of them, like, if they even tried that. Yeah, like I said, I think it's in, and especially since, like, the worst thing for MLW is that it has brought a lot of their practices to the fore, where you're hearing a lot of stories about their contracts not exactly being the most, like, fruitful for their employees, and the wrestlers not exactly getting paid a hell of a lot. Like, there was a story just on the Jim Cornette podcast, because Jim Cornette, they covered this subject, and they were talking about some wrestlers were on contracts for $150 a night. And when Jim Cornette was doing the TV tapings for them, doing the commentary, he was the highest paid person on their roster. And that says something for that sort of their practices. When you're holding people to contracts, they're only earning X amount of dollars, and they can't go, like, I don't know why they're signing these contracts, maybe because they think, I've been signed. That's cool. That's awesome. And they're not getting reimbursed for them so much. Then, yeah, I don't know the particulars, so I'm not going to really overly comment on them. I just think that they're in a very big uphill battle, because everyone knows anyone who goes to court against WWE, especially if it's old mate Jerry McDivitt, they're probably going to come out on the other hand, on the underside of this.
Oh yeah. And look, for me, again, I think that it wouldn't surprise me if WWE has been doing practices that you could consider anti-competitive. The way that they've established contracts, the way that, and if you look at the way the wrestling landscape had been up until, let's say, 5 years ago, the number 2 company was Impact, and they were nowhere close.
Yeah.
Right? Like, seriously, you had to go to New Japan to find somewhere that was putting on shows that were at WWE's level in terms of fanfare.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were picking off NJPW talent with the likes of Nakamura. So it wouldn't shock me if there was a case for anti-competitiveness with WWE. I think right now there is a very, very low chance that this ends up going anywhere in MLW's favor. And look, there's some people have said that this is maybe an attempt by MLW to get their name in the headlines.
And to get a little bit of extra, maybe for a settlement.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, there's lots of things that it could be. We've talked in the past about enjoying the product that MLW is putting out. But yeah, this is a very interesting one, and I really don't know which way it's going to go.
Yeah, because they also talked about contract tampering, and I don't think, like, because I know it's got a lot to do with apparently Bruce Pritchard used to work for MLW, and they're saying that he's taken a lot of information he knew, even though he had a non-disclosure, and sort of like used it in his current job in WWE. That's been done in wrestling everywhere before like Noah built an ark. Do you know what I mean? That's just you if you know something from another business and you're working in the other, like somewhere else in the same field, I don't see how you can do a non-disclosure for that. Like, as long as you're not telling anyone, but you know this stuff. Yeah. And as far as contract tampering, I don't think it's contract tampering to ring someone and go, how long do you have on your contract? We've got X amount of time. When your time is up, give us a call. We're interested. And if that person from that goes, well, shit, if they're interested, I want to get released now so I can go and do that now. That's not on them for saying, like,
No.
As long as they haven't said, go and break your contract and then we'll pick you up. That is an entirely different story. But if they've said, when your contract is up, get in contact with us. We'd like to talk to you. Totally different story. And if you're on a contract for $150 an appearance, and the WWE is saying, we'd like to pay you X amount of dollars. Well, they're not saying it, but you know that's what
happen. Our contracts are for XXX a
year. Yeah. Then you were probably going to go, look, I'd like to get out of my contract, please.
Yep.
It's just Anyway, we'll see what happens in that. It's going to be an interesting story going forward anyway. See how far this goes.
It feels like we will hear more and more about that as it progresses. Let's talk about what's going on in the WWE in the lead up to the Royal Rumble. We have an updated card. At this point, the men's Rumble match and the women's Royal Rumble match are getting more and more competitors added regularly. On top of that, we have the Universal Champion Roman Reigns defending against Seth freaking Rollins with the Usos banned from ringside. We have WWE Champion Brock Lesnar defending against Bobby Lashley. Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch defending against Dewdrop, and a mixed tag match with Edge and Beth Phoenix versus The Miz and Maurice. What matches do you expect to be the highlights of this card, Todd?
Well, I think the two championship matches, the men's championship matches to start it. You got like Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, who they're not going to put on a bad match, and everybody's been wanting to see Brock Lesnar against Bobby Lashley for a long time. And it's been maybe a bit like swerved because everyone's been wanting to, even though they've seen it a few times now, they still want to see Lesnar and Reigns for the Heyman factor. This is still a match that's another dream match. People have said, what would happen if Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar got in the ring together? They're going to see it at the Royal Rumble. There was a fan-made poster that I put up on my Twitter, which I really liked. It was the two of like Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins standing looking in a mirror for the Royal Rumble. And in the mirror, the reflection was them when they were in the Shield. So it was what Roman looked like when he was in the Shield and what Seth looked like when he was in the Shield. And before then, I was just like, oh yeah, it's going to be a good match coming up. When I saw that poster, I was just like, actually, that's a pretty good like depiction of what the WWE wants you to think. Like, these are two guys they came up together, they did all this together, and now years later, they're going to get back together for this match. So I'm actually looking forward to those two matches.
Yeah. For me, the two Rumble matches are two of the most exciting matches every year, no matter what. There's just a sense of anticipation. They seem to almost always let me down with that anticipation, but it's still so exciting, the idea that anything could happen. And it does, set up the road to Mania and the road to those really big matches.
I will say that Rumble right before the pandemic hit and we went into the closed
with Edge's return, McIntyre winning.
I didn't mind that Rumble. I thought it was really good.
Real good.
The section with Lesnar just dominating, and then they did that bit with Shelton Benjamin and all of that sort of stuff. I really like that. That harkened back to the old Rumbles. At the moment, I've been currently like at night watching like from 88 through all the Rumbles going through. and like I got shown a photo of, well, not a photo. Oh yeah, I got shown a photo of like the entrance so far, and like they aren't setting the world on fire when I'm looking at it. So I'm not overly excited. Normally, the Rumble match is one of my favorite matches of the year to watch. I just love it for some reason because you don't know who's going to show up, especially with like the Women's Rumble doing the whole Mickie James thing. You just don't know who they might have as a comeback. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely. I think, look, for me, the Raw Women's Championship match I want to be excited about, but I don't see a way that Doudrop beats Becky Lynch coming into Mania season.
No.
Becky will be defending that title at WrestleMania. I'm certain of it. So it takes a bit of the anticipation out of that match for me.
Who do you see, just quietly, who do you see her defending it against at WrestleMania? Is it going to be Liv, or is it going to be Bianca for the final, like the circle of life?
Those are the two that I'm really tossing up between, and I'm wondering kind of which direction they go. I feel like it might be Liv, that it might be building towards number 3 for Liv and taking it in that third match. It felt like it really fell apart a little bit when Becky couldn't get her foot on the rope in the last match between the two of them to set up the, cheating for a win a second time.
Yeah.
I do think that Liv is my pick to be challenging Becky there. And I think maybe Bianca goes for the other, but I'm really not sure.
Well, what do you think? Because they've got, of course, Charlotte is in the Women's Royal Rumble. Does she win it, or does somebody else?
Not.
Yeah, same. But you know what I mean?
Because here's my worry. My genuine concern is that Charlotte wins and they do a unification match at Mania between Becky and Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
And Becky and Charlotte are great and they work well together. And I have seen it more than enough times at this point when they have a women's roster as strong as they do. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't get me wrong. Love watching the two of them work together. But there are so many fantastically talented women that you can build a storyline around. To give me Charlotte and Becky at this point feels like a waste. And it feels like a waste of having the two titles when they're doing a 2-night WrestleMania and, they've got 2 cards to fill.
Yeah. What if Bayley makes a comeback and she's in it? Do you want her to win it? I'm just throwing names at you now just to...
Here's the thing. That's the problem with the women's roster in WWE, right? Is like, yes, I want Bayley to win it and return and win it. I want Rhea to win it.
Yeah.
I want, Mickie James to win it and take the Impact title into WrestleMania. I want that to happen. As much as I know that there's a lot of fans who would hate it, I wouldn't mind if Nikki Bella got a moment to show that she can actually wrestle on a big stage against, one of these. Yeah, I'm getting the eyes from you. But that's the thing, is there is such a huge... Naomi really hasn't gotten the chance on that big stage to win a title.
And she won't, because she's stuck with Sonya Deville. She's married to Sonya Deville now.
That's exactly right. But this is my point, is the women's roster is so strong that I'm glad we're going to have, I assume, Naomi and Sonya at WrestleMania, because that's a big blow off to a long-term feud happening at Mania between 2 women who can really work. And there doesn't have to be a title there. But those are 2 women I eventually want to see get a spotlight and have a big title win at WrestleMania. You know what I mean? There's so many options. Yeah. And it feels, it's disappointing because Doudrop is one of those people I want to see get a big moment, and I don't feel like it'll be at the Rumble.
No. And she's a good worker.
Great worker.
Yeah. Viper, Doudrop, whatever you want to call her. She's, like I said, I don't care what their name is. I want to see them work.
Yeah. And then there is that X Factor match, which is the mixed tag, Edge and Beth versus Miz and Maurice. I feel like this one's going to a schmoz and it's going to happen again at Mania properly.
Yeah, I think it'll end up just being a singles at Mania again with some sort of thing about either Beth and Maurice are handcuffed together, or do you know what I mean? Something stupid like that. So they're still involved.
Some nonsense.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So, you know what? I'm actually going to spring another quick WWE news story on you without your warning and get your take on it. We've announced that the cover
I hate
star
it.
for
Oh,
WWE 2K22 is Rey Mysterio, and he's going to be a feature of a big, history mode that's in there. This is, of course, there was a WWE game last year that was very cartoony and silly, but the previous WWE 2K game was 2K20, which was received incredibly badly, full of bugs, lots of reports coming out on the studio that was given it having very little time to work on it. So here's what I want to know from you, Todd, with zero warning that you're getting this question. First off, do you think it's going to be a pile of garbage, or is this game going to work? And question two, if it is a pile of garbage, what does that mean for WWE?
Well, from the screenshots that I've seen of it, it looks really good.
It does.
Which is not they've all looked good. It's just how the gameplay is, I guess. They've done the whole GM mode for this one and all of this sort of thing. And it looks like they've taken like a year or so to see what 2K used to do with it and make it, well, not 2K or whoever the developers were for it as they've done. And hopefully this means that because they've had so much time to work on it, they've built an engine that they're happy with, and that will negate all these problems that 2020 had or 2K20 had. Yeah, I'm interested to see what it's like. It's going to be very interesting to see how far along they are as opposed to how far along AEW are with their game that's supposed to be coming out.
Well, that's kind of the reason I wanted to mention it, is we know that there's this AEW game in development, which is being developed by Ukes, who was working on the 2K series up through 2K19. And I think that what's notable about this, as you know, and I know that some wrestling fans who'll be listening to us don't know about the games, or at least don't know very much about the games.
Yeah, the behind the scenes stories about the games.
Yeah. Things like the GM mode, which was in the WWE games for years and years and years and really hasn't been there for about a decade now. That's something that fans have been clamoring for. And then when AEW announced their game, it was a big part of it that they were going to have these things that the fans really want, like a GM mode. And it was going to be more arcadey and more fun and like the older games. So if WWE is suddenly going to pull out a game that does those things that the AEW game has been bragging about the fact that they're going to do, that'll be really interesting to see the way that shifts the way the game side looks. Because at the moment, the quote unquote gamers in the audience feel like AEW is the place where they're going to get their fix. And if 2K22 is really good, the way it looks like it might be, that could really shift that. So that'll be something to keep an eye on.
But let's be honest, they're going to buy both games.
Yeah, I'm going to buy both games. Like that's I like video games. I like playing it. It's going to be fun.
They're going to buy both games.
Let's talk about AEW for a little bit. So John Moxley's back.
Did you want to go for a break first, then we'll talk about AEW?
How about we cover a little bit of AEW because we've got so much to talk about, and then we'll jump to a break.
Comes back and all of a sudden I'm running things now. So
I know.
No, I understand.
I'm taking control,
I understand.
baby.
No, I understand, mate. I was the host for 1 week and all of a sudden I think I'm the man, but no, you're
It's
right.
gone to your head, Todd.
Yeah, obviously the power. It's well known for me that power goes to my head. So
I know.
Carry on, brother.
So we'll cover a couple of things really quickly. The first one we'll cover here is John Moxley returning to AEW, setting up what looks to be a feud between him and Bryan Danielson. But the headlines coming out of this return are not about that. They're about Bully Ray. So Bully Ray, maybe better known as Bubba Ray Dudley, was on a podcast where he talked about Moxley's return, saying, quote, "We have our demons. These demons got the best of John Moxley for a time period where he had to step away from AEW. I would have liked to have heard him say a bit of an apology to the AEW fans." This has gotten a whole lot of backlash from people around the wrestling industry, saying that John Moxley does not need to apologize to AEW fans for working on his addiction with, alcoholism recovery. It's a bad take. It's a bad take from Bully Ray here.
Do you know who, because I was thinking about this, right? Do you know who did owe an apology? Jeff Hardy owed an apology because it affected his in ring work. Like that match, that TNA match. That's someone who should
Victory Road you're talking about.
Yes,
The Victory
that's
Road match against Sting.
yes, that's someone who should have apologized. John Moxley doesn't have to apologize for shit. He went and worked. He realized he had an issue. He went and worked on it. He's back now. He looks like he's lost a fair bit of weight too. He looked in good shape. He doesn't owe anyone an apology. Like I said, if it had somehow he'd done something like on a pay-per-view or something where people had paid good money to watch him and that he hadn't given them the show that he would have if he was sober, then yeah, like I said, Jeff Hardy, the Victory Road thing, that's when he came back, that's when an apology probably would have fit, in my personal opinion, because he did something that was unprofessional and you know what I mean? Moxley doesn't owe anyone an apology. Moxley went and worked on himself. Moxley's done the best thing for him and his family and his life as a whole. He doesn't owe anyone an apology for anything.
No. Not that I am a fan of Bully Ray. It's possible that what he was trying to get at was that if he was in this situation and he had cut that promo, he would have had an apology to the fans inside that promo. He thought that might have been a good decision. If that's what he meant, he worded it really, really badly.
Yeah.
Right? And like that's the thing that it comes down to here is if you're going to be talking about, you know, quite a serious situation where a man left his job temporarily to go into rehab and make sure that, you know, he was working in a way that he could get by, you've got to choose your words carefully when you're talking about what they should and shouldn't have done.
Yeah, look, that was, if I'm not wrong, that was on a Drawing Heat podcast, which is also a radio show on Sirius XM, which it wouldn't surprise me he's done this half as a publicity stunt to get a little bit of heat for the show.
Yep, definitely wouldn't surprise me.
But look, it was a silly comment and he didn't owe anyone an apology. Simple as that.
No. Let's talk about one more AEW story before we cut to a break, and that's going to be Lio Rush. Lio is officially announcing that his contract will expire on February 4th, 2022.
14th.
He'll become a free agent. February 14th, thank you. Rush signed with AEW in mid-June last year. He's now set to become a free agent in February. 8 months does feel like a short contract. If you look at people like Joey Janela, Marco Stunt, Cody Rhodes, they're all multi-year deals. Given Rush's public criticisms about Tony Khan, it brings up a question about AEW letting Lio Rush's contract expire, or if he was tweeting himself out of a job. There's rumors that him, Cage, Janela, and Stunt won't be offered new contracts. He last competed for AEW on December 8th of last year. Give us your takes, Todd.
Well, it does very much reek of look, I know Lio Rush has been very public of the fact that he likes his freedom and that he likes the ability to be able to go here, there, and everywhere and all of that sort of jazz. 8 months is a very weird time space for a contract. Like 6, 12, 3. Do you know what I mean? The quarters. It's usually what you really hear, or even 4. Because 4 is like a quarter of a month sort of thing, a quarter of a year. Those are the ones that you would hear, like 90 days bloody non-competes and all of that sort of stuff. Like 8 months it just feels hinky, like when you look at it from that. And look, you can't, it seems very suspicious that he hasn't been used on TV since making those comments, and Jay Lethal just sort of moved into that role with Dante Martin.
Yep.
It seems very, you know what I mean? You could look at it and go, huh. But who knows? As for the other guys, look, this is what they're going to do. They're not going to release people. They're just going to let their contracts roll out. So they're not going to, and which is weird because honestly, and this sounds weird because I've never really been a fan of his, Joey Janela looks like he's in the best shape of his life at the moment. And
oh yeah,
have him get not be offered a new contract That's weird. Like they haven't used Cage in God knows how long, so I'm not surprised about that at all.
No.
And Marco Stunt, they probably shouldn't have signed to start with, in my personal opinion. Yeah, so those guys, and I think Peter Avalon as well is now out of contract. So
yeah, and again, a guy who really hasn't been used very much.
no, it really, the only reason you would know Peter Avalon is in AEW is if you watch Being the Elite, because that's where primarily, and maybe Dark. I don't really watch them, so I don't know. But primarily, that's where they've been used. It was like, I can't remember who it was this week. I was watching Dynamite, and I was Frankie Kazarian. That's who it was. And they said his record for 2021 was like 47 and 11. And I was like, I don't recall him being on TV for.
He wasn't. It was on Dark.
Yeah. So I was like, that's where that thing doesn't really compute to me. That's like the whole thing with what's his name coming back, challenging Hangman Page.
The Murder Bird. What's he called?
Yes, Murderhawk.
Yeah,
yes.
Lance Archer.
Lance Archer. Now, that's well and good, and like Lance Archer seems to be the guy that when somebody wins the title is the first guy to challenge them. That seems to be the modus operandi there for AEW. But the guy'd been out for how long with an injury? So how is he logically the number one contender?
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
If they're doing these rankings things, I think I made the joke on Twitter where he better be doing double shots on Dark and Elevation for the next month to pump his numbers up so he's the number one contender. Yep. Maybe it counts like if you do a handicap match against three guys, that counts as 3 victories.
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
Here's what it is, though. Like, do you know Billy Gunn's AEW record?
It would be something ridiculous. Like he's never been.
Billy Gunn has 48-8 in AEW.
Yeah.
Right? He is not on AEW TV. Full stop.
No. Well, that's like the Gun Club. Apparently, like the number one contenders.
Yeah, they're like titles. Unbeatable on Dark and Dark Elevation.
Yeah. It's a thing, but we'll see what goes on. Like, obviously, they're going to do these things where they're just going to let people's contracts lapse and not reuse them instead of cutting them. That's the way they plan on doing it. And I suppose you can do that when you're not worried about investors or not worried about like that sort of deal. If something happens in the future and they have to worry about investors and worry about that sort of thing, maybe you'll see that stuff starting to happen. But AEW have got the luxury at the moment where they don't have people going, well, why are you spending so much money on these guys when they're not working at all? And just cut them. Like you've got cut clauses in your contract. Just cut them.
I like Lio Rush more than a lot of people do. I think I give him a lot of credit for having the balls to say what he thinks, even if a lot of people are going to disagree with him. I think that a lot of the time he's coming out and speaking his mind on what he perceives to be things that aren't going right. And, that takes a lot. So credit to him for that. Unfortunately, I don't think it keeps you on the right side of a wrestling company's management. I think that he was coming into AEW sure to have a short run. But
he's immensely talented.
He is.
He's immensely
incredibly good at what he does.
That is a example of them not using people to the best of their.
Absolutely.
Like he's been there for 8 months. I barely saw him.
Yep.
Barely saw him.
I am, occasionally I'll miss an episode of something. I genuinely don't think I saw him.
Well, I was thinking about this the other day. When was the last time we saw Miro since he lost his title? He's done recorded pay-per-views.
Yeah, pre-recorded promos.
Pre-recorded promos, and that's it.
That's it.
There's all these guys that they now, because they've got so many people, they're doing this sort of stuff with. Like Andrade's now. Have you seen this? Like Andrade's part of Hardy family office. They're now like the
Andrade now owns the Hardy family office.
Yeah, they're business partners in it. What are they doing? Like how is this using him better than what the other mob used him? It's not really, because I don't see what they're doing. I don't understand any of this sort of stuff.
No.
And if you couldn't use him, why did you sign him?
let's put a call out. Help us understand. If you know what AEW is doing with this talent, you've got to tell us. That means going to Twitter at WrestleRadioAU, going to Facebook, Wrestle Radio Australia, going to Instagram at Wrestle Radio AU, and tell us what you think. Tell us all about what you think, and we can talk about it here on the show. Let us know what you want to hear, and let us know what your feelings are on all of the news stories we're talking about. We have got more about contracts and injuries and lineups and other promotions coming right after this, so stay tuned here at Making Chicken Salad.
This is the Bro Day Pod. I think like a crocodile has like the bite force and and like the rip and tear, but I feel like a shark
and
way
roll.
too much teeth, man. Way too many teeth. Too much teeth. Too many teeth. Like just bite, just tear flesh out of it. If it's a great white as well, I feel like a shark's got it.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know.
If I'm in there, I could choke out a shark.
Oh my god, dude. What is this?
You turn into
Is
a triple
is that all
threat.
this podcast is? This podcast is just to prove, just for you to convince the world that you can fight every animal. Oh, I'm so heated now.
Shut up. It's a triple threat.
Who's taking the pin? If it's a triple threat?
It's a triple threat. I'll be the crocodile first. And then I'm
It's
coming for the...
elimination. It's an elimination. You're taking them both out. No, bro. This came out of nowhere. That came out of nowhere. That's it. At any point, all you want to do is prove you can fight animals. Go to the next one. Go to the next one. Go to the next one.
Okay.
Follow Bro Day No Plan B podcast on Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to Making Chicken Salad, where we have got more to talk about in the world of AEW and more to talk about in the world of contracts. That's Cody Rhodes, reportedly a free agent working on a new deal to remain with the company. Fightful First reported the news they've yet to hear back from either AEW or Rhodes to confirm, although Cody did allude to it in a promo on AEW. According to the report, his deal expired at the end of 2021, and he's been working without a deal ever since. Todd, what do you make of this?
Oh, I'm allowed to speak now? Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. For those of you that don't know, he told me to shut up just a couple of minutes ago. So
Hey, rightfully so.
yeah, I don't know what they're trying to work on, or what deal, what is hang up of the deal, or maybe it's something to do with maybe they're taking the EVP off him or something. I don't know. Like, I have no idea whatsoever. So who knows? Maybe it's a dollar thing, or maybe I can't imagine why they wouldn't. You would think that he would already be signed, and I would be amazed if they don't re-sign him in some way, shape, or form.
Would it surprise you if this was specifically to get this headline into the news?
Oh, not at all. Not at all.
Like, that's part of what I'm thinking, is maybe they've just agreed, hey, if we work on a pay by the appearance thing that works out so that I get the same amount anyway, and I'm an EVP, you'll take care of me, it doesn't matter. Let's just not sign me so that the wrestling press can hear that I'm a free agent. Then I can work it into promos. Like, I know that's a bit tinfoil hat here.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Why else would your EVP not be signed? And this comes back to the stories that we heard before about, when the Bucks and Omega were talking about their roles, not really being involved in the corporate side, whereas Cody was the odd one out on that. He was the one who was staying involved in all of that. So for him to not have a contract seems really unusual to me.
It seems funny because like Bucks re-signed. They're signed up, and I haven't heard anything about Omega, so I don't know. You would think that.
Oh, you wait till the Royal Rumble, Todd.
Yeah, yeah. How is that the dumbest bit of a reporting that you have ever heard from? And Dave's done some dumb things, but having to say Stardust will not be at the Rumble, neither will, I can't remember who the other, John Moxley, that's right. And neither will John Moxley. I'm like, no shit, Sherlock. In other news, neither will Hulk Hogan or Bruno Sammartino.
Breaking, sky still blue.
Yeah. I hear Andre the Giant isn't going to be there either. It's like, fucking come on, mate. Look, I don't understand. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe it's for storyline purposes. If it is, it tells me that they don't know how to keep their people quiet. If they can't just sign a contract and keep it stum. Or unless they have, and they are keeping them quiet, which is because there was something where I can't remember what the story was, but Dave Meltzer was reporting that nobody in AEW was talking to me because they didn't want to have to talk to me and lie to me. That was something he said. I can't remember what the story was about, but that could be something else too. But who knows? Who knows? He will resign it. I can't imagine that they would not resign him. And if
He's not going anywhere.
If they did, I know people would be happy, but still, it'd be a big question about what's going on with AEW.
Yeah, definitely. We've got an update on Rey Fenix's injury. He's hoping to return in mid-February, according to Meltzer. One half of the former AEW Tag Team Champions has been on the shelf with a dislocated arm. This we talked about was from a table spot where he got he chokeslammed through a table by Luchasaurus, and his arm just bent the other way. That was on January 5th when they lost their titles to Jurassic Express. It was feared that he broke his arm on the spot, but that was not the case. He was said to have an additional MRI to check for additional ligament damage, but no news has come of that. I don't think there's much to say here other than, you know,
incredibly
we hope
lucky
that he is back soon. Very lucky. It looked bad. Maybe this will lead to them, you know, having the Lucha Brothers try to claim the tag titles back, because, you know, theoretically at that point in the match, Penta was the only one able to defend it, and that's why they lost. That's a story that could happen, but really the headline here is, you know, it's good to see that this is a dislocation and not a break, and that he should be back soon.
There's also that underlying story with I hate Santana and Ortiz because I won't call them Proud and Powerful. That about them not having a title yet and wanting to go for a title. So who knows? They could be a logical challenger for Jurassic Express coming up as well.
Definitely. We've got Beach Blast coming up next week. Here's the lineup so far. We've got Jericho, Santana, and Ortiz versus Daniel Garcia in 2.0. We've got Layla Hirsch versus Red Velvet. We've got Orange Cassidy and Adam Cole in a lights out unsanctioned match. And we've got a TNT title unification match between Cody Rhodes and Sammy Guevara. Any hot takes on this card?
Interested in seeing Sammy and Cody. That is about it. I'm not really interested in seeing... look, I like Daniel Garcia. I think he's got a hell of a lot of potential. I don't know why he's on every show that AEW ever puts on, because that seems to be what it is at the moment. I don't know what he's got on Tony Khan, but Tony must absolutely love him, because I see that dude in everything against everybody. He's like in a two-way feud at the moment. He's feuding with Garcia, like Garcia's feuding with Jericho. Also, bloody after Sammy Guevara for the TNT title, and bloody Kingston's after him as well. It's like, I don't know. Like, I'm not interested overly because it's Chris Jericho, and at the moment, I'm not interested in anything he's doing. To be honest with you, like, he is like, he's my toilet break when I see him pop up on AEW at the moment. I'm just not interested in at what he has to do and what he has to say. I just he would be like, spoiler alert, he will be my chicken shit for the week. So, Layla Hirsch and Red Velvet, they sort of concocted something out of nowhere between the two of those guys. I would have thought it was going to be Statlander and Thing might be added to that, but who knows? Or that's maybe something further down. Cole and Orange Cassidy. Look, how many? Like, I know we talk about rematches and then they don't do them, but it seems to be with this, until like this week on Rampage, those guys, like Super Elite or whatever they call themselves, have won every match against the best friends that I can recall. Anyway,
Yep.
It's always been low blow Adam Cole finisher, and that's been it. So I don't see where there's any, like, I don't see them getting any heat back at all. Like, they get all their heat. Like, don't get me wrong, the heels have got all their heat, but it's not a heat where I want to see Orange Cassidy
It'll
come
be
back
a good
at them.
match. I just don't know that it'll be anything
No,
for
but
the story. You know what I mean?
that's like this week on Rampage. It was supposed to be Rocky Romero and Trent Beretta against the Young Bucks, and Rocky Romero got COVID, so he got put out. Why wouldn't have you just put one of the other 1,000 people that are in Best Friends in that spot? If anything, put Yuma in it. Wheeler Yuta. Wheeler Yuta.
Wheeler Yuta.
Yeah, put him in it because there's an
He's
underlying
great.
story between him and Trent anyway.
Yep.
That's put them against the Young Bucks. You could have had the Young Bucks go over because of that and further that little thing along a little bit. Or even have Wheeler get the win. And then that's like Trent.
Because at the moment, he's just part of that faction just to be there, it seems like.
He's the Sean Spears of that faction. He's the one, like, if we need someone to take the fall, good old Wheeler will do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to quickly jump back to Daniel Garcia.
Yep.
Found an interesting stat that he has the highest number of nationally televised AEW main events of any wrestler in the past 6 months.
Wow. That's for someone who was completely unknown before. And what's his win-loss record as a matter of if there's...
That's a great question. Let me find out.
Because I can't imagine
but
he's won a
yeah.
lot of them.
No, neither can I. But again, you know, it's that thing where when you take into account all of the matches on Dark, you know, maybe it's different.
Yeah.
But his overall career record is 13-13.
So he's a 500 guy that's continually in main events. It's not a bad gig to have, really.
No, like I wouldn't complain. But yeah, look, this is here's the thing about this card, right?
Stealing my shit. Okay.
Yeah, I'll get in on it.
Here's the thing.
It's called Beach Blast, and it's
in
happening in
Cleveland.
February in Cleveland, Ohio. Like, what is going? Like, none of this card makes sense to me from theming down. Like, it's just
maybe they thought it was Cleveland, Queensland.
Maybe that'd be a good spot to have a beach bash in February. But yeah, look, I think that Cody's going to win the title match. We didn't mention, sorry, that title unification match is a ladder match.
Yes,
It's going to be 2 belts hanging from the roof.
Do you reckon he's going to win it?
Yeah, of course he's going to win it. It's Cody. If
he doesn't win it, is that an indication that they are further apart on contracts than what we think?
If he doesn't win it, why did he beat Sammy a month ago?
Yeah,
for the title.
That's a good point for a TV show. But
he just won the belt. I agree, it's for the TV show.
Yeah,
but that's the thing. He just won the belt. There was going to be a rematch, except that he was out with COVID. It doesn't make any sense to me that he would win a belt and then immediately lose it in a rematch to the guy he beat for it. Which it sucks because I would rather see Sammy have it.
Yeah,
but you know,
and if they're going to do it this way, why wouldn't have they just given it to a heel like Scorpio Sky?
Yep.
So Cody could have unified it against Scorpio Sky, because he'll get if the idea is to turn Cody actual full heel, even though he said, like, he'd made that excuse in his promo about why he doesn't turn heel and all that sort of thing. If the idea is to do it, then I guess Sammy is probably a good choice for them to do it against.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I will give a little bit of credit to Daniel Garcia just because we've been talking about it. I actually messaged you, Todd. His Twitter, I find really, really entertaining. The way he tweets about matches that he had. Dude's got charisma of wet paper, but the tweets that he's putting up about the actual wrestling is really good. He had a tweet where Sammy tried a drop kick combination on him and he caught it. And he tweeted, "I've seen many people get caught by Sammy's leapfrog backflip evasion drop kick on AEW and years before that in the independents. He gains momentum with this pattern in his matches and it's hard to slow him down once he hits it. I thought this was the solution." Like that kind of tweeting where you make it look like a sport and you've studied your opponent, I think is really good. If only there was, if
More
only that
people
wasn't
that did
just
it?
given on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to say one more thing before we finish up talking about Beach Blast, and it's where is the tag team match? Because my favorite thing in AEW is the tag division, and it's not close, right? When you've got teams like Lucha Brothers, FTR, Jurassic Express. On this card, we've got Santana and Ortiz versus 2.0, but we've thrown in third men on each of the teams for, as far as I'm concerned, no good reason,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I mean, how many matches generally are on a Dynamite? Is it just 4?
About 4.
Okay. So who knows?
Yeah, like
who
it's
kno-
not a long show. Like,
No, but they might add something else. They might add Jurassic Express against the Ass Boys. You just don't know.
yeah, maybe. I wouldn't mind that. By the way, if we ever say something and you're not sure what we're talking about at this point, it's probably Danhausen.
Yeah.
Because you called Ass Boys, I said Murder Bird before. We're all about Danhausen at the moment. But moving off of AEW, let's talk about things that are going on in the wider world of wrestling. So first up, we've got a big pay-per-view lineup for GCW for the event The World on GCW. From the bottom, there's a kickoff show with a PBR Scramble match. It's going to be Jack Cartwheel versus Dante Leon versus Grim Reaper versus Ninja Mac versus Nick Wayne versus Alex Zane. We're going to have appearances by Ruckus, Dustin Thomas, Psycho Clown, and B-Boy. I'm a huge fan of B-Boy.
I actually thought you were going to say Psycho Clown because I knew as soon as I saw Psycho Clown, I thought, well, that's right up your lucha alley.
Yeah, I love, Psycho Clown is a, AAA classic, but B-Boy, just to be clear, this is B-B-O-Y, not B-E-E-B-O-Y, the Australian wrestler. This is the Filipino-American wrestler who was Bale in Lucha Underground. Big fan of him, someone who really focuses on telling a story in his matches, really has match flow worked out. Definitely, if you don't know him, someone to check out. There's going to be a grab the brass ring ladder match. It's going to be Lio Rush versus PCO versus Tony Deppen versus Alex Colon versus Jimmy Lloyd versus Jordan Oliver. That's a lot of big names.
Funny thing is, I actually messaged the owner of Venom going, they stole me gimmick idea. Because if anyone's in Queensland, they go to Venom.
You grab that big Sonic ring from the top of the ladder.
That's right. Ring. When I was the booker there, I brought in a brass ring ladder match because it's the symbolic grabbing the brass ring. It was a lot easier than doing a glass ceiling match because I think that's more death match than anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a cool gimmick though. Throw someone through the glass ceiling. I love that. There's going to be a 6-man tag. It's going to be Bandito, Laredo Kid, and ASF versus Gringo Loco, Demonic Flamita, and Arez. That should be a hell of a lucha style 6-man. There's going to be women's match, and this is the thing. GCW's cards. We're going from the bottom up here, so I haven't even gotten to the big ones yet. Ruby Soho versus Ali Catch. That is some huge names to have sitting in the middle of your card. There's going to be a Ring of Honor World Championship match. Jonathan Gresham defending against Blake Christian. There's going to be a GCW Tag Team Championship match where the Briscoes will defend in an open challenge. Have you got any predictions on who you think it's going to be, Todd?
I so want it to be FTR. I want it with every fiber of my soul and being for it to be FTR. I'm convinced
they're going to tease FTR and it's not going to be FTR.
Yeah, I'm afraid it's going to be what's his name? The guy that teams with his son. They're indie wrestlers.
No, can't tell you off the top of my head.
Okay, go on. If I remember it, I'll say it. But yeah.
Above that, we've got
Hawks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, those guys.
Yeah.
Something like that, or maybe an older GCW team that I'm not aware of.
Yeah, it'll be someone. I don't think it'll be FTR, no matter how much we want it to be FTR. A match that I can't believe I get to say this. Jeff Jarrett will face Effie. I do not know what to expect other than a guitar with a dildo attached to it. There's going to be Matt Cardona with Chelsea Green versus Joey Janela. Like we've said, Janela is maybe in the best shape of his life at the moment. Cardona has been doing incredible work, especially in GCW for a while now. That's big. And then the GCW World Championship is going to be on the line with John Moxley defending against Homicide. What a card.
Yeah,
what
and
a
even
monstrous card.
I watched the show. I watched the 2 shows that they've done just before leading up to it. And they've been building to the pay-per-view, which is great to see. You don't normally see that in GCW cards. You don't normally see like builds of things, but they really have been building. It was with Jarrett doing his bit where he just comes in and hits somebody with a guitar and leaves. Cardona working his way through people, and like Joey Janela, like sitting at home, sort of, that's what he's been saying, sort of deal. Like the only thing that hadn't been pumped over those shows has been the main event, Moxley and Homicide. That's the only thing that they haven't really been building to because
Moxley hasn't been there.
Yeah, they couldn't do it to build it. I think it's weird that Bandito's on the card, but Jonathan Gresham's the one defending an ROH championship.
It does feel strange
because he's still the ROH champion. So yeah. It's just that. Yeah, I can't wait to watch this show. Like, this is possibly the one indie show I've been looking forward to more than anything I can remember. In not since they did the first one, All In, and that, because that was truly, well, it wasn't even an indie show. It was backed by Ring of Honor, but still, it was massive. This has the same sort of feeling to me. Like, Cardona's been doing his best work ever, like, in my opinion. I think I even put it on Twitter because after I'd seen the last 2 shows that they'd done, I was like, he is the best currently unsigned heel in the country, or in America at the moment, or in the world even. And to which he retweeted it and said, I'm a babyface, actually, which means he's just even more of a heel. Even more of a heel.
Perfect.
I mean, the back-to-back matches he did to lead into this was he took on Rhino and beat him for the ECW Television Championship.
And threw it in the bin.
And then the show after that, he got beaten by Ricky Morton. It was so good.
Superb.
He's so good.
Absolutely superb. Yeah, and I feel like GCW has overtaken Impact in terms of the way they present in the wrestling world. Like, when AEW showed up, it was like, oh, they've overtaken Impact as the number 2. GCW's followed right up behind them. They are just doing incredible stuff at the moment.
Yeah, and that's they don't have a TV product. They just have their shows.
Yeah.
They do their shows. Like, there was a match on the Detroit show that they did. I only call it the Detroit show because I can't remember the name, but the only reason I remember it's the Detroit show is because Kevin Nash was on the show. It was Alex Shelley.
Most Notorious?
Yes, that would be the one. Alex Shelley had a match against, I can't remember who it was, but it was brilliant. It was another older wrestler.
Jimmy Jacobs.
There we go. It was really, really good. It's just like they have that mix between the older guys and the younger guys. Like, I think it was Jonathan Gresham was against Too Cold in the next one for the ROH title. Like, Too Cold Scorpio and Jonathan Gresham in a match. Unbelievable.
On that Most Notorious, it was Too Cold Scorpio teamed with Ricky Morton against Ali Catch and Effie.
Yeah.
Like, these are the matches that they're throwing together. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's so good to see. And like I said, I cannot wait to see that show. It's something that, unfortunately, I had my dates mixed up, and I thought it was on today. We're recording this on the Sunday. So that was my day planned. And then I've realized, oh shit, it's on Monday. I can't watch it till I get home from work.
Yeah.
So
and that's just going to hurt.
Yeah. And because it's Twitter and it's like such a popular indie product, it's going to be all over Twitter. So there'll be a social media ban on me until I get home, which is going to be hard because I'll be launching this bloody show. So it'll be like, quickly
turn your notifications off.
Yeah. It'll be like, quickly on, launch the show, bugger off. Sort of deal.
Let's also talk about, you mentioned The fact that Gresham's defending a Ring of Honor title and Bandito is on the show and not. Gresham versus Bandito has been announced for Supercard of Honor on Friday, April 1st to determine the true Ring of Honor World Champion. It'll be the first Ring of Honor event since going on hiatus to reimagine the company. I think that, obviously that's the match that needed to happen.
Yeah.
Whenever they were going to put on another Ring of Honor show, it needed Gresham versus Bandito. So this doesn't surprise me at all. It's interesting to know that it is going to be Supercard of Honor April 1st. Having that date set in stone is something.
Mhm.
Other than that, anything notable you think on this one, Todd?
Well, nothing yet because we're so far out from the show. So, I mean, there'll be Josh Goods will be on it because they're still recognizing him as the pure champion. Of course, you got the Briscoes still as the ROH tag champions, so they will probably be on it before then because I can't see them losing that at an indie show somewhere, unless FTR somehow beats them here and then defends it at a Ring of Honor.
Something.
That's my dream right there. There we go. I've just I just booked that into existence. I want them to win those two belts at thing. Then they can parade those belts around on AEW television and then lose them back to the Briscoes at Ring of Honor. I would love that. I would love that.
Done. Give him the book, folks. Give him the book. All right, let's go into talking about our chicken salad and our chicken shit for the week. You've already teased it. Todd, chicken shit. What did you hate?
Jeff Jarrett, stop trying to get GFY over. He's already got his t-shirts out. No, just get over it, bro. Seriously, get over it. It's just that's it. Soon as he is a channel changer for me. He is a skip button for me. Well, I never thought I would say that in my life because I used to love Jericho's character. At the moment, he is a 30-second skip forward.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. For me, I mean, we've, talked about a lot of things, but it's hard to go past saying that someone should apologize for their alcoholism.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, Bully Ray's conversation there was pretty rough and something that, I definitely don't think was justifiable. And, another thing we talked about, an obvious chicken shit, is WWE denying the release for Ali. I know that that's not exciting for me to put them as my chicken shit, but they're just, every so often I go through phases where sometimes I'm angry at what's happening in wrestling. Sometimes I'm up. These ones have just got me dejected. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just it shouldn't be that hard to do better. That's just where I'm at.
100% agree. The only reason I don't use those two is because we brought them up in the show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I tend to try and find something that we haven't talked about in the show too.
I also do, and that's, why I feel a little bit boring saying them, but it's just, it couldn't have been anything else for me this week. Those just felt like massive bummers. And there's nothing else that really stood out. It's actually I've been pretty happy with wrestling, and I might even just jump straight into my chicken salad off that.
Yeah, go for it.
Especially because I got to watch PWA. I didn't get the chance to talk about it because we had Steve on the show to talk about it last week while I was in isolation. But man, Pro Wrestling Australia puts on the best shows in the world. I cannot get over it. When are the Velocities getting signed? When?
Yeah.
Why aren't they? Why don't they? Who hasn't? Why? I don't understand.
Why aren't either of those teams?
It's just insane. Go out, watch the Velocities versus Aussie Open. Go do it. I cannot urge you enough. Go watch it. While you're there, make sure you watch Mick Moretti versus
Roberto
Sniper of the Skies.
Robbie Eagles is his name. Come on, mate.
Thank you.
Come on.
I know. I'm overwhelmed thinking about how good the PWA show was. I think that, just because I didn't get a chance to talk about it, I feel like there was maybe a bit too big of a gap of stuff in the middle of those two huge matches in the second half. Maybe, timing wise, I would have preferred that to be,
Look, mate, you had your chance to talk about this.
Big match. Oh, tut. Go check out that show if you haven't already. what was it called? Welcome to the Black Label Parade.
There we go.
Check it out.
My chicken salads for this week were basically the two shows from GCW were really, really good coming into this. Going into the pay-per-view that's happening tomorrow. Most Notorious, and I can't remember what the other one was, but they were fun. Really fun shows to watch, and sort of told stories. Like Blake Christian was in the match before Jonathan Gresham's match. So he went back and did commentary, and then they did a face-to-face going into that. So it's all like leading into this match, which has been really good to see. And the other thing is, and I can't remember what date it was on, but it is a new promotion. It's run by Jonathan Gresham. It's called Terminus. Now, I really, really enjoyed this show because it is very different to most every other promotion going around. It was a stacked card. Like Josh Alexander and Gresham were on that. I think it was the main event for that show. But like Daniel Garcia was on the show. Josh Woods was on the show against Lee Moriarty. The two guys from Catchpoint reteamed. Tracy Williams and Fred Yehai teamed up again on that show. But I just want to read you the rules for this Fed because it's so good to see that they're doing this sort of a different type of a promotion. Time limits are strictly enforced. So if it's a 15-minute time limit, it's a 15-minute time limit. If it's one of those matches where it's really close and it can do it, it's up to the referee's discretion to add another 5 minutes to it if he wants. There is a 2 tech foul rule and then a DQ. So and stuff like there's a 10-second count, like over the top rope is it like if you throw a guy over the top rope, that's a tech foul. If you do it twice, you're DQ'd. I think it's a 10. You've got 10 seconds on the top rope. So if you get to the top rope, you've got 10 seconds before you have to either do something or get off. So there's no more 30 seconds of people fighting on top of the top rope. You know how they do that when they're trying to get ready for their move?
Yeah.
Sort of to move things along, I guess. I think I can't remember if right off on top. I think it was only 5 seconds on the outside. So if you're on the outside, you got 5 seconds to get back in, or you count it out. I love that. I love the fact that they're doing this different stuff. Also, KOs are part of it. Like there was a flash KO there was a 4-way elimination match with Daniel Garcia, and he beat one of the guys with a flash KO, which was really good. It was a different thing to see because it was like you don't see that. Like the guy hitting with no closed fists. So it's not that shit that it's like it used to be. So there's just open hand palm strikes, and that's how he knocked him out. He knocked him out with a palm strike, and it's just really interesting, really good, a different take on pro wrestling. If somewhat a bit of a throwback to pretty much a promotion that is completely pure rules, but not, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so, I just brought up the card, and man, I know what I'm going to be watching.
Yeah, it was really, really good. Really, really good. I'm actually up to the main event of the show because I stopped watching it to watch the Indie Hall of Fame today because I wanted to see, because people were talking about it on Twitter. Gresham
versus Josh Alexander, pure rules for the Ring of Honor title. I gotta watch that.
Yeah. That's the one I'm looking forward to actually watching. So yeah, they're my chicken salads. Go and check them out if you've got the ability to go and fight and you want to spend a couple of bucks to watch some really good wrestling that isn't AEW, it isn't WWE, it's grungy, it's gritty, it's ECW back when ECW was ECW. That's the way I describe GCW at the moment. It's sort of that. But like they'll bring older guys in like Too Cold. Too Cold can still work his ass off. Too Cold is still really, really good. Ricky Morton, not so much, but it's just great seeing him there. It's like watching Terry Funk when Terry Funk was going in ECW back in the day. He couldn't really do a hell of a lot, but what he did always made sense. So
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's my chicken salads for the week or the fortnight or however long it's been.
Perfect. So speaking of old guys, you can follow Todd at Beast Eastman. You like that one, mate?
Fucking dig.
Couldn't help myself on that. Yeah.
Son of a bitch.
You can follow me on Twitter at Lachlan Albert. If you want to follow the show, socials are at Wrestle Radio AU on Twitter and on Instagram. You can follow us on Facebook at Wrestle Radio Australia. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to Wrestle Radio Australia. It's free. You do it on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts. Hit that subscribe. Really helps us, especially if you're on Apple Podcasts and you can give that rating and review, give us 5 stars. That really helps us get to more people. On top of that, you can grab some merch for Wrestle Radio Australia. Head on over to Redbubble, search Wrestle Radio Australia. There's all sorts of hats and shirts and stuff that you can get a hold of. And the proceeds don't go to us. They actually go to supporting 2 strategies that we really, really care about here. That's Gotcha for Life and charities is what I meant to say. Wow.
Tell you, mate.
It has been too long since we recorded, Todd.
For someone who I've got a replacement for already, you've been very smart to me and saying a lot of wrong things. So the charities that those proceeds are going to support are Gotcha for Life and Beyond Blue, who do amazing work for mental health here in Australia. You may have noticed that I wasn't on the last episode of Making Chicken Salad where we reviewed Welcome to the Black Label Parade from PWA. I was going through some really rough mental health stuff to do with being in isolation. And, you know, that's part of the reason that we feel so strongly about these charities, you know. Yeah.
So absolutely, you know, if you want to support those charities, one of the ways you can do it is by buying Wrestle Radio Australia merch. And while I'm here, big shout out to Steve from Going Over Wrestling for jumping on that and doing an awesome job. And I'm sure you will hear more from him on this feed in not too long.
Yeah,
Cody, anything else you've got?
Well, like I said to you, mate, like I did lie to you people at home, and I apologize for saying he was in ISO because I just wanted to talk to him face to face before we brought this up. Not everyone is like me where they're quite happy to go, yeah, I had a bit of a breakdown. I'm fine now. Yeah. Not a lot of people are like that. So I just wanted to clear it with him first. And I'd like I said to you offline, mate, always here. Anytime you need to talk, that's what we're here for. We're friends. As much as it doesn't seem like it when we're talking here, we're friends.
I'm glad you think we're friends.
we're friends, and like anytime you need to reach out and talk, that's what we should do, because that's what you should do. You should share your problems,
exactly,
because no problem is as big as when you just be able to get it off your chest. And if you're feeling a bit shit and stuck in ISO like we all are nowadays, or we all seem to be having to go through one stage or another nowadays, we should know that there are people that we can reach out and talk to. And even if we don't think there are people that we can reach out and talk to, there are professionals that we can reach out and talk to, like you did this week. And like you said, you feel a whole lot better for doing it.
Absolutely. And, you know, if that's not something you're comfortable doing, I'm always here. You know, if someone messages me out of the blue, I'm always happy to help, because if we're not sticking together, it's not going to work. That's what it's all about. So, make sure you let people know.
Yeah, and also like you said, big shout out to Steve for jumping on. And yeah, you will be hearing him more in the future, because I think we're going to bring him on to do some stuff with you and with me, and just so it's not always, I was having to talk to my old ass. You can talk to someone.
He can
else.
See how horrible it is to deal with me for recording a podcast.
Exactly. I was like, if I've got to do it, then someone else should do it as well. No, honestly, it's great. It is great to have you back. And also thank you very much to Steve from that Going Over Wrestling. And yeah, we'll have him on again really soon for that sort of stuff. But that's about it, mate. And like I said, it's great to have you back.
Awesome. Good to be back. So with that, that's been Todd Eastman. I've been Lachlan Albert. Till next time, have a good one.